Hello, my friend. I'm genuinely happy you're here watching this video today, and if you choose to subscribe to my channel, it would mean the world to me. Your support truly matters. Now let's get into the story. My name is Frank, and after 3 years in a committed relationship, I decided it was time to take the next step. I had the ring, the words I wanted to say, and every detail of the proposal planned down to the smallest moment. When the day finally came, she turned me down. That same night she posted on Instagram, "Know your worth, queens. Don't settle for less." I saw the post, hit the like button, and couldn't resist leaving a short reply. Kings, too. What happened after that would change everything, but to make sense of it, I need to start from the beginning. Rita and I first met during our final year of college at a mutual friend's birthday celebration. She was studying marketing, and I was in my last semester of a finance degree. From our very first conversation, the connection was effortless. We seemed to understand each other right away. In just a couple of months, we made things official. By the time graduation rolled around, we had decided to move to the same city and share an apartment. Those first 2 years living together were honestly some of the happiest of my life. We settled into an easy routine. I left early each morning for my job in finance, and she followed about an hour later for her role at a digital marketing agency. Our evenings were spent cooking dinner together, binge-watching Netflix, and planning little weekend escapes. We celebrated our first anniversary with a trip to the mountains and marked our second with an unforgettable dinner at the upscale steakhouse where we'd had our first official date. Back then, Rita seemed genuinely content. She would send me thoughtful messages throughout the day, and, on especially stressful ones, she'd surprise me at my office with my favorite coffee. Her Instagram had a few photos of us, smiling at parties, traveling, or enjoying a night out, and the comments from friends and family were always positive. Her mother, in particular, left heart emojis and kind words about how happy we looked together. But as we moved into our third year, something began to change. It started gradually: late nights at the office for urgent client projects, canceled weekend plans because of work deadlines, fewer texts during the day. When we did talk, her replies felt more like polite obligations than enthusiastic check-ins. Friday night dates became rare, replaced by her outings with coworkers. If I suggested tagging along, she'd brush it off, saying those gatherings were dull networking events I wouldn't enjoy. On social media, her posts shifted away from pictures of us towards solo shots, trendy coffee shops, work functions, stylish restaurants, often paired with captions about independence, self-improvement, and professional growth. Still, none of this made me doubt my feelings. If anything, I told myself her independence was a sign of maturity. I was in love, and I couldn't imagine my future with anyone else. By February, I knew I wanted to propose. I spent my lunch breaks browsing jewelry stores, studying diamond quality, cut, clarity, carat, determined to choose the perfect one. By April, I had found it. A simple but timeless solitaire diamond on a platinum band, elegant without being flashy. I planned the proposal just as carefully. The weather forecast promised clear skies for that Saturday afternoon. I arranged for her friend Laura to suggest visiting the location, without knowing I'd be there. That morning, my nerves were on edge. The ring was secure in my jacket pocket, and I had practiced my speech so many times I could deliver it flawlessly. When Rita arrived with Laura, I waited until they were settled, then stepped forward. Dropping to one knee, I opened the box and told her how deeply she meant to me, that I couldn't imagine life without her, and asked her to marry me. The silence that followed seemed to stretch forever, though it was probably only seconds. Her expression was one of shock, as though I'd told her something she wasn't prepared to hear. She helped me stand, holding my hands as she explained she wasn't ready. She said she needed to focus on her career and personal growth, that she wanted to fully understand herself before making a lifelong commitment. She assured me it wasn't about not loving me, it was about timing. I was heartbroken, but I tried to accept her words. We walked home quietly, the unopened ring box a heavy weight in my pocket. That evening, she left to talk with Laura, leaving me alone to absorb what had happened. While she was gone, I scrolled through my phone, trying to distract myself. Around 9, her Instagram lit up with a new post. It was a pink and gold text graphic that read, "Know your worth, queens. Don't settle for less." The caption was just a crown emoji and hashtags for self-love and knowing your worth. I stared at it, feeling hurt, confused, and a little angry. Only hours after saying no to my proposal, she'd posted something that seemed aimed directly at me. On impulse, I liked the post and commented, "Kings too." It was petty and probably immature, but it felt like the only way to respond without starting a public fight. A few mutual friends liked my comment, which gave me a small burst of satisfaction, though I doubted most of them knew the full story. Rita returned just before midnight, said she was tired, and went straight to bed. The next morning, she acted like nothing unusual had happened, making coffee and asking about my plans, as if the proposal and the post didn't exist. I decided not to bring it up, thinking we both needed space. Over the next several days, the tension in our apartment grew. We stayed polite, but the warmth we once shared was gone. She continued working late and spending evenings with coworkers, while I found myself at the gym or out with friends more often than at home. We never directly discussed the future of our relationship, yet the strain between us was impossible to ignore, an unspoken weight lingering in every interaction. About a week after my proposal fell flat, Rita suggested we take a break to reflect on what we truly wanted from each other. She framed it as a short-term pause, a moment to gain perspective. But beneath her words was a quiet certainty that told me she had already made her decision. I agreed, not only because the ongoing tension had worn me down, but also because I held on to the hope that some distance might help her realize the worth of what we had built together. Rita moved in with her friend Laura for the time being, while we figured out how to untangle the practical details of our shared apartment. Since the lease was in both our names until August, we settled on her continuing to pay her portion of the rent, even while staying elsewhere. Dividing up our belongings turned out to be far trickier than I'd expected, a reminder of just how closely our lives had been woven together over the last 3 years. During that separation, I threw myself into work and began reconnecting with friends I'd gradually lost touch with during my relationship with Rita. Kevin and Tyler, 2 co-workers, started inviting me to their weekly happy hour outings, and I got back into a steady gym routine. The busyness was a welcome distraction from the constant wondering whether Rita ever missed me or if she even thought about the life we had shared. Then, about a month into the break, I got an unexpected text from Jessica, one of Rita's friends. She said she just wanted to check in and see how I was doing. Jessica had always been pleasant in group settings, but this was our first real one-on-one exchange. Her tone was warm and sincere, free of any hidden intent to dig into my feelings about Rita. Over the next several weeks, our messages became more frequent, until one day she told me something that completely changed my understanding of why Rita had turned down my proposal. At first, Jessica seemed reluctant to say it, but she finally admitted that Rita had been secretly involved with another man for months before I proposed. He worked in software sales and had connected with Rita through a mutual contact on LinkedIn. Jessica said their time together had been disguised as professional meetings, credible enough to keep me from suspecting anything. This man knew she was already in a committed relationship, yet seemed to enjoy the secrecy. Meanwhile, Rita had been pouring emotional energy into him while steadily pulling away from me. The most painful detail Jessica shared was that Rita had been openly comparing me to him when talking with her friends. In her mind, he was more accomplished, more exciting in his career, and embodied the lifestyle she believed she wanted. She convinced herself that staying with me meant settling, while he represented the chance for something greater. Jessica confessed she had kept this to herself because she hoped Rita might cut ties with him and recommit to me. Instead, Rita had been using our break as cover to pursue him more openly. I had unknowingly become her fallback plan while she chased what she considered an upgrade. As much as her confession hurt, it brought me a sense of clarity. I finally understood why Rita had seemed so disconnected in the months before my proposal, and why her rejection had been so firm. Her hesitation had never been about marriage itself. It had been about marrying me. In the months that followed, I occasionally heard news through mutual friends. Rita had been pressuring this man to make their relationship official, but he avoided any serious commitment. He seemed perfectly content keeping things casual, with no interest in the stability she was seeking. Her social media during this period told a strange story. She frequently posted about independence and self-respect, but anyone paying attention could sense the undertone of longing. One day it would be quotes about walking away from those who don't value you. The next, pictures from high-end restaurants I knew she couldn't afford without help. By the 4th month of our separation, word reached me that their relationship had turned volatile. He would make plans and then cancel at the last minute, or vanish for days without replying to her messages. Rita was exhausting herself, trying to figure out how to win him over and convince him to commit. The irony was glaring. She had rejected my proposal in search of something better, only to be treated with far less respect than I had ever shown her. While she dealt with his inconsistency and emotional distance, I kept focusing on my own healing and growth. During this time, Jessica remained a steady presence. What began as friendly check-ins gradually became something deeper. I began noticing shared interests that had never stood out when we only interacted at group gatherings with Rita. We started spending more time together, initially just as friends, while navigating the awkwardness of our overlapping social circles. Those moments gave me a healthier focus as I learned to let go of the past. Jessica listened without judgment, offering perspective without trying to influence how I felt about Rita or our breakup. Around the 6th month of my separation, I learned through friends that Rita's relationship with the other man had completely ended. She had given him an ultimatum: either commit fully and go public, or walk away. He chose to end things. Rita was devastated, having traded the stability we once had for someone who never intended to give her what she wanted. By then, my bond with Jessica had grown stronger, and I was starting to realize my feelings for her went beyond friendship. She seemed to value in me the very qualities Rita had stopped appreciating in our final year together. Then, about 7 months into the break, Jessica and I had dinner after an event. During the meal, she admitted she had always felt a certain connection with me, even back when I was with Rita. She had never acted on those feelings out of loyalty to her friend, but she wanted me to know how deeply she cared for me as a person. Her honesty placed us in a delicate position, because by then I already knew I had strong feelings for her, and I could clearly see the possibility of something real between us. Becoming romantically involved with my former girlfriend's close friend carried its own moral weight, especially since my breakup with Rita was still relatively fresh. Before we allowed things to move forward, Jessica and I spent hours in candid conversation, considering how others might react and carefully assessing the risks. Only after we agreed to proceed with complete honesty and measured caution did we take that step. By the 8th month after Rita and I had separated, every last detail of our split had been resolved. All shared property was divided, our lease agreement settled, and our communication was reduced to the rare instance when something truly required it. From the outside, Rita appeared to be dealing with the fallout of her failed relationship with the man she had chosen over me, while also attempting to rebuild her career and social life. It was during that same month that Jessica and I went on our first official date. The evening unfolded effortlessly, as though it had been meant to happen all along. From the start, I sensed that Jessica's interest ran deeper than the fleeting thrill of something new. She seemed genuinely intent on knowing me for who I truly was. Over the next several weeks, our bond strengthened, though we made a conscious choice to remain low-key, aware of the sensitive social currents around us. We avoided posting anything online and kept the relationship private until we felt confident enough in our future to share it publicly. What struck me most was how dramatically my connection with Jessica differed from my past with Rita. After more than a year apart from Rita, there was no question in my mind Jessica was the woman I wanted to marry. She had shown me time and again what it meant to be valued and cherished by a partner. The contrast with my old relationship was undeniable. I realized I had been accepting far less than I deserved. This time, when I began planning a proposal, I did so with complete assurance, both in my feelings for her and in knowing she would say yes. I chose a place with deep significance to our shared story. The proposal could not have gone better. Jessica was surprised, but her happiness was instant and absolute. She said yes without hesitation. That night we spent hours discussing our plans for the future, celebrating the official start of our engagement. The joy felt natural and unforced, a world away from the uncertainty and disappointment I had faced with Rita. Later that evening, we posted the news on social media, a simple photo of us together, her ring in clear view, captioned, "Excited to start this next chapter with my best friend and the love of my life." The responses from friends and family poured in, warm, heartfelt messages from people who could see how truly happy we were. What I hadn't factored in was how quickly the announcement would make its way to Rita, or how strongly she would react. With mutual friends still in her circle, it was inevitable she would see it before long. I just didn't expect her to respond the way she did. At precisely 11:47 p.m. that night, my phone lit up with her name. My first instinct was to ignore the call, but for reasons I can't fully explain, I answered. Her voice came through thick with tears, edged by the slur of someone who had been drinking. She skipped any greeting and immediately began speaking about seeing my engagement post, how stunned she was that I had moved on so quickly, and even more so that it was with her friend. Rita went on to admit that she had believed I would eventually reach out, fight for her, and prove the depth of my feelings. She confessed that part of the reason she had turned down my proposal was because she wanted to see me make grand, determined gestures to win her back. In her mind, my acceptance of her rejection without a fight had been the opposite of what she'd expected. Hearing this left me dumbfounded. To her, saying no had been some sort of test, a challenge for me to overcome through relentless pursuit. Instead, I had taken her at her word, respected her decision, given her the space she asked for, and moved on. She seemed genuinely confused that I hadn't interpreted her refusal as an invitation to chase her. During the call, she admitted she regretted leaving me for the other man, acknowledging that he had never treated her with the same care or respect I had. She told me she had imagined a future where, once she had worked through her own issues, we might eventually find our way back to each other. I listened quietly, then explained as gently as I could that I was happy with Jessica and that our relationship had shown me clearly what I needed in a life partner. I wished her well, but made it clear I had no interest in revisiting the past. She seemed genuinely surprised by my certainty. At one point, she even asked if my proposal to Jessica had been designed to provoke her or send a hidden message. I told her plainly that it had nothing to do with her. It was entirely about my love for Jessica. That only seemed to heighten her frustration. Before hanging up, she asked if we could talk again in a few days after she had processed her emotions. I declined, explaining that for the sake of my relationship with Jessica, and for her own healing, it was best if we maintained boundaries. As soon as the call ended, I told Jessica everything. She reacted with understanding, though she admitted she had half expected some sort of reaction from Rita once news of our engagement reached her. She appreciated my openness about the conversation. In the weeks that followed, Rita made several more attempts to contact me, through calls, messages, and even mutual friends. Her tone shifted from apologetic to angry to pleading, but the underlying message was always the same: regret over how things ended, and a hope that we might try again. I replied only once, early on, reiterating politely but firmly that I was committed to Jessica and asking her to respect that. When the messages didn't stop, I blocked her on my phone and social media. Jessica and I agreed that it was the healthiest decision for everyone, including Rita. Now, 18 months after the day she rejected my proposal, I can look back on the whole sequence of events with perfect clarity. The Instagram post she made that night, "Know your worth, queens, don't settle for less," has become a quiet, private point of irony between Jessica and me. We don't use it to mock her, but rather as a reminder of how unpredictable life can be. Given everything that followed, the irony is almost too sharp to believe. Rita was convinced she was sidestepping the risk of settling when she declined my proposal and chose to pursue another man. In truth, she ended up with someone who failed to value her faithfulness or commitment. During that time, I came to a very different realization. I understood my own worth, not as an abstract notion, but as the ability to clearly recognize when I was being taken for granted, and I opened myself to the possibility of meeting someone who would genuinely appreciate what I had to give. The stark difference between my experience with Rita and my relationship with Jessica has given me insights I never imagined I'd gain. With Rita, I was constantly draining myself, trying to demonstrate my value, always attempting to persuade her that our relationship deserved her full focus and devotion. With Jessica, appreciation comes effortlessly. We grow stronger together because we make the choice, every single day, to invest in one another. Today, Jessica and I are engaged, and planning our wedding has been nothing short of collaborative and truly enjoyable. Every decision is made jointly, each of us honoring the other's perspective while holding a shared vision for the future we want to build. The difference between proposing to someone who sees you as just one option among many and proposing to someone who considers you their only choice is immense and transformative. Occasionally, I wonder how Rita is doing, but I feel no urge to seek out specifics about her life. This path has made me a more confident person and a better partner. I've come to see that knowing your worth means refusing to accept treatment that diminishes you. Real love isn't about keeping alternatives open. It's about continually choosing each other, day after day. Above all, I've realized that some of life's most difficult moments can lead to its most rewarding personal growth. Had Rita accepted my proposal, I might never have discovered the experience of being with someone who truly wants to be with me. And if she hadn't posted that "Know Your Worth" message online, I might never have stopped to ask myself whether I was living by those words in my own life. For anyone watching who might be in a similar position, I offer this advice. Take people at face value when they show you how they truly feel. If someone refuses your commitment or treats you like a fallback, believe them. Don't exhaust yourself trying to persuade them of your importance. Understanding your worth isn't about believing you automatically deserve something better without appreciating what you already have. It's about recognizing when you're genuinely undervalued and having the courage to pursue something healthier. Often, the most powerful answer to rejection is genuine success. Success that's not about provoking jealousy or proving anything, but about finding joy and building the life you truly desire. My engagement to Jessica wasn't the result of a rebound, even though it happened soon after. It was simply the natural outcome of meeting someone who valued me for who I am. The irony of Rita's social media post will probably always bring a smile to my face, not out of spite for her circumstances, but because it reminds me of the lessons I've learned about myself and the qualities I truly need in a partner. Life often delivers its lessons in unexpected ways, sometimes with a dash of humor. And with that, our story comes to a close. I look forward to reading your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for joining me. And if this story spoke to you, I invite you to explore more of the videos here on this channel. Until we meet again, my dear friend.